Today I'm going to talk about household food waste. My name is Greta Hausbeck and I wrote my bachelor thesis about household food waste. So today I'm going to give you an insight on that. First, let me give you a brief introduction to food waste in general. In high-income countries, people are used to food being available in high quantities at all times. Unfortunately, this does not only lead to full plates, but also to full waste bins. According to the UN, on a global scale, 1/3 of the food meant for human consumption is being wasted along the food supply chain. The food supply chain includes every step of a product, from crop to consumption. So we have agriculture, processing, retail, food services, and households. Along this food supply chain, every year 1.3 billion tons of food is being wasted. Now it seems likely to focus on supermarkets or agriculture, which is important as well. However, in rich countries like Germany, a better part of food waste is generated in private households. In Germany, households contribute 52% to the total amount of food waste along the food supply chain. And around half of it would be theoretically avoidable. This means that every year 2.6 million tons of avoidable food waste are generated in German households. But why is food waste even a problem? There are two main reasons why we should tackle food waste. First of all, the unjust distribution of wealth and power in the world also leads to an unjust distribution of food resources. While in some parts of the world, the rich parts with a lot of economical influence, food is being rejected due to its appearance, on a global scale, 1 out of 9 people suffers from malnutrition. According to Kwame Sundaram and Elva, there's enough food being produced worldwide to feed the whole world. Second of all, food waste is also contributing to the climate crisis. We have to remember that by tossing out, for example, an apple or the bread from yesterday, we are wasting something very valuable. At the time of wasting, the food already required precious resources like water, energy, and farmland, which should not be wasted on a planet with limited natural resources and a growing population. Calculations have discovered that food waste is responsible for 3.3 gigatons of CO2 every year. As I already told you, my bachelor thesis was about household food waste. So in the context of that, we conducted a study. In order to tackle household food waste, it is important to further analyze the problem by investigating the amount and composition of food waste. In the context of our research, we conducted a very detailed analysis of the composition of food waste generated in private households in Germany. Additionally, we calculated the value of the avoidable food waste in terms of monetary worth and land use based on a determined composition. The study included households from 2 different residential buildings in Lübeck in Germany, and they had different average income. In total, there were 83 households with an estimation of 139 inhabitants. Both residual and bio-waste were sorted by hand and weighed using a sorting protocol. Additionally, a picture was taken of each food waste section in order to further analyze them. First, the waste was separated by type of waste, like paper, green waste, plastics, or food waste. The food waste was then again characterized using the following 29 categories. we made a difference between unavoidable, partly avoidable, and avoidable food waste. Unavoidable food waste is everything that you literally cannot eat, like bones or seeds. Partly avoidable is everything that might not be eaten due to habits or cultural beliefs. Avoidable is the remaining part of food that could have been eaten at some point. The avoidable food waste was the part that interested us the most, so we further analyzed it. Both packaged and unpackaged waste were sorted separately in order to include this aspect in the analysis as well. But both packaged and unpackaged waste was characterized by the following food sections. On the plant-based side, we have raw fruit and vegetables, unprepared cereals and pulses, bread, other cereal products, leftovers and canned food, spreads and sauces, and convenience meals. On the animal-based side, we have raw meat, fish and seafood, cold cuts and sausages, prepared meat, fish and seafood, dairy and egg, and convenience meals. Using this sorting and weighing scheme, the composition of the bio and residual waste was determined. The pictures taken of each section were then analyzed visually to determine the even more detailed composition by individual products like apples, chocolate, or noodles. So let's talk about the results of our research. The study showed that each household produced 2.17 kilograms of food waste every week. As you can see here, around 45% of this food waste was avoidable, which means that there is a high potential for food waste reduction. The separate sorting of bio and residual waste also raised the assumption that avoidable food waste is rather being discarded via the residual bin and unavoidable food waste is being disposed of via the bio waste. The composition of the avoidable food waste was determined as following. This implies that the sections of raw fruit and vegetables, bread, and leftovers and canned food are the most wasted sections. This also goes along with results from other studies. The picture analysis led to the result that bread, potatoes, noodles, and apples were the most wasted individual products. Based on this analysis, the costs of the unnecessarily wasted food were calculated. At an average, every person living in Germany spends 112 euros every year on food which is later discarded. In the case of a four-person household, this amounts to more than 450 euros each year. This amount makes up around 5.4% of the average annual spendings on food, drinks and tobacco. The calculations made to determine the abundant land use due to avoidable food waste were even more complicated. The composition of each individual product had to be determined or estimated in order to use the respective crop yield. The results imply that every year 66 square meters of agricultural land are being used in order to grow crops that will be wasted by consumers. Results found in literature are quite sparse, however the ones found are explicitly higher, suggesting around 130 square meters per person per year. This result should be therefore used carefully. Generally, different methodology, varying definitions and system boundaries, as well as different estimations and simplifications among research concerning food waste, lead to different results. This makes the data frail and difficult to compare. So what does that actually mean? Reasons for household food waste are diverse and range from packages that are too big, to wrong storage, to bad meal planning. However, household food waste should be regarded as a serious problem, and it needs innovative ideas and incentives for consumers, as well as more education and information on the topic in order to tackle the problem. Apart from that, this study also showed that there's still a lot of potential to improve source separation of household food waste. By doing so, at least the energetic use of food waste would be improved. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something new and spread the message about food waste. Thank you for your attention.